How long will it take to get the drug from the first idea to actually being used? And what are the things that really take the time?
Yeah, this is very interesting as a business model because we are working with academic groups that are already taking these cell therapies to a very advanced stage in terms of clinical development. So it is our general approach to look for applications that have already had proof of concept in humans. That means there's been a phase 1, phase 2 trial where they've used the cell therapy, they've seen that the cell therapy is safe, and they've also seen that they're achieving efficacious results. In the world of cell therapy, there's quite a few academic groups which have actually developed different concepts to that level. And then we can get involved and take it what we call to the last mile or through the last mile, which is manufacturing scale-up. So we industrialize the production methods for the cell therapy. We take it through final regulatory approval, and then we achieve reimbursement with the national health authorities, and then that allows us to market the cell therapy.
So end to end, how many years is
well,
that?
That whole process, depending on the amount of data that we need to demonstrate for regulatory approval, will take anywhere between 4 and 7 years.
So it's a long time, isn't it?
It's a long time, but the classic drug discovery pathway is typically about 15 years. So we've cut that in half, which is not bad.
What are the challenges, though, in going from a clinical trial product to a commercially saleable product?
Well, for us, one of the big challenges will be to provide the cell therapy across a number of clinical centers in a very efficient way, because we're a very different form of pharmaceutical company, if you will. Our treatment, our therapy, starts with the patient. We have to get a blood sample from the patient, and then it comes to our production facility. We manipulate the cells, we activate the immune cells, and then it goes back to the patient. So that's a very different model.
So it's not a production line, is it? It's a sort of one by one by one.
One by one by one, and it starts with the patient, and it's a very special relationship that we have with clinicians, and it's a really.
So the manufacturing facility is not a production line in a classic sense, is it?
No, it's not a production line. It takes us usually anywhere between 1 day and 3 weeks to prepare the cells. Sometimes we have to grow the cells in culture, so they're sitting in an incubator, growing and multiplying. The efficacy of a treatment based upon immune cells often depends on the number of immune cells that you can infuse into the patient. So we do have to sometimes expand the cells in number. But it's a pretty straightforward process, so we can do it cost effectively. It's the logistics, moving the cells back and forth in a very reliable way that is different. It's a challenge that we feel we can certainly address, and in the applications that we're targeting, which are life and death situations, I mean, everyone is highly motivated to make sure we deliver that cell therapy.
So a kind of stupid question, but presumably you say transferring them safely. I mean, presumably they're physically sent from place to place.
They're physically sent. So, but in today's world, you can move cells back and forth across the world through various courier systems in 24 hours, and blood will remain usable, if you will, for our purposes, for a period of anywhere between 48 and 72 hours.
How much will this whole process of developing these set of drugs have cost?
In our first application, CMV, we are, at this point, committed to a program of about £10 million. So it's fairly efficient, but we are doing relatively small studies, highly focused in these bone marrow patients. And the key is that we can deliver a high level of efficacy. At least that's the way our trials are structured. They haven't completed yet. And that means if you are delivering a very important clinical benefit, you can actually prove that with less patients than if you're demonstrating a very small benefit. And that's really the promise of these cell therapies, a very important clinical benefit relative to current standard
life
of care.
or death.
Yeah, that's right.